Let's start looking at the solutions to the challenges. For this and the other challenges, we were required to generate a KB with GAM applied. The web application had to have the built-in security level set to authentication. The application we see on the screen already has it. Let's start looking at the instructions of challenge 1. In this challenge, we were asked to create in the application different objects, users, and a role. Let's start with this. First, we had to create a transaction called users. The other thing we were asked to create was a web panel called user info. We do a build, and while this is being done, we go on with what we were asked to do. In addition to the above, we had to create 2 users and a role. Let's see this. Once logged into the GAM web back office, we create what we need as we learn to do so in the introductory course. After creating the users and the role, the next thing we were asked to do was to apply the work with for web pattern to the transaction. And then select the authorization value as the built-in security level for both the transaction and the web panel automatically created when the pattern was applied. Something to keep in mind is that it's not enough to set the security level to authorization in the transaction. We also have to do it in the objects generated by the pattern, because the security level of the KB is authentication, which is different from the one we're setting. Once this is done, we select Build again. As indicated in the instructions, we had to check that the application permissions have the restricted value as default access to the permission previously generated. And indeed, we see that all permissions associated with the transaction were left with that value as default access. Let's continue with the next step. We have to associate the user, test_user1, with the role created before, and associate that role with the permission corresponding to the transaction that is full control level and the permission of the work with. Let's do this. We've already done everything that was asked for in the instructions. To finish, we have to check that the web panel can be accessed by any of the 2 users since it has the authentication level only, while the work with of the user transaction can only be accessed by test_user1 because it has the permissions.